Welcome back to some more Create Disintegrated. Now, last episode, we set out to get started with the replication mod. We built a research facility, and now I've got to figure out how to fill this thing with all of the different matter types. Because inside of this terminal, as you can see, we have 8 different matter that are all independent from one another. And items require certain amounts of those matters in order to be replicated. And so, before we start teaching this thing anything that we want to replicate, I would love to have these sort of constantly being generated. And that's what each of these individual test tubes are going to be for that we built last episode. As throughout the entire series here, I have been kind of planning for this, and I have most of the items required for all of the matter types already automated. We've just got to get all of this stuff set up. Okay, but hear me out. There is one problem. Making more of the cables and making more of the things from replication, including disintegrators and all kinds of stuff, is kind of expensive and costs a lot of time crystals, and time crystals are pretty slow, right? Well, if you remember when we set up the time crystals, I mentioned that, well, you could technically tick accelerate by putting a time wand inside of a clicker. And that's exactly what I have done. I have a time wand that is now setting in here. It has some time fluid. The advanced clicker is being powered, so it's keeping it powered. And I filled this thing all the way up with time fluid. It requires 8 time crystals in order to max this out. And every time that this reaches back around, it's going to hit that with the time wand. And this right here speeds this up incredibly quickly. And what would make this even faster is if in each dimension that we have this going to, we set up an advanced clicker with a time wand in it. I think that would make it go even faster. Now, as of right now, they have to be manually refilled. That's something that I'm going to keep in mind. I do have to make the time fluid by hand. It's not super difficult. And I'm going to show you the process that I've kind of been using for this. So the way that I'm doing this as of right now is I just have some water that is going right here. And then I drop in my polymorphic catalyst and then quickly drop in the time crystal and then just right click with the wand. And so this is pretty fast. I mean, I just got to do this 8 times for each one. And this is probably going to be more than enough to make all the time crystals we're going to need. Now, something that I do recommend here is just leaving the basic tick speed at 20. And that way it's not going to continue wasting if it doesn't need to. There it goes. So it didn't even make it all the way up to the 256. And so that will prevent it from wasting power and also wasting anything else, which I think is kind of good. This is going to be more than fine. But yeah, this is definitely speeding things up already. And already I'm up to 22 again. I just put this thing back in here. So these looping like this, incredibly fast. So good. I love this. Man, now I've definitely got enough time crystals to last quite a while. This is going to be really nice. So now here's my plan. Essentially, I want a disintegrator to go in front of each one of these sections right here. Then I'm going to need each of these individual containers that are locked. I'm going to want to take them and place them inside of the appropriate tube. For example, this one is Ender. And I'm pretty sure on the Ender, if I open this up, Ender was the dark green and Earth is going to be our lime green. So the dark green one, this one is going to be Ender. So what I'll do is I'll break this rod and actually place this just like so inside. So you can kind of see where I'm going with these test tubes. I think this is kind of cool. And it does keep all of the information here. I am still going to leave the rods. I think just dealing with one tank is going to be more than enough. Well, at least for now anyways, because if you really wanted to expand this, remember you can stack these on top of each other and then set priorities. So it actually looks like this one's filling up, then this one's filling up, and it'll also consume in that same order too. This is where these priorities come into play. For example, if it was set to a 1 priority, that tank would fill up first. But now with all of these tanks moving, I'm going to break the center part because this is where a cable is actually going to be running. And I'm going to run a cable behind these walls and lead this all the way up. Actually, we may just put it actually in the wall, and then I'll just set these industrial iron blocks one block back. Now all of those pieces are now set, and this is starting to look really, really nice. But there's still a lot more that I've got to get done, right? I need to get all of our disintegrators actually functioning. And so most of the things we have, but there are going to be a couple of things that we're going to work on today that I think will help us. For example, automating totems of undying. This is going to be really good for getting us the quantum. It gives us a quantum and precious. But as you've seen there in JEI, I've gone through most items here, and I think I have one dedicated item that is going to go in each disintegrator based on each individual matter type. This is something I didn't have to do, but I really wanted to do this. For example, down here for the metallic, iron is going to be the best. We are automatically producing iron. So what we can do is we can go over here and modify some priorities on some things. So if you remember, we set up a way to access all of the items that are contained in this area here. And we can actually set a priority on this and make sure that this is the first area that things get pulled from. And I know I had just mentioned priority, right? It works the same way over here. So we can go down into this. And then right here, there is actually priority settings. And you can see this is already set to a higher priority. It's set to 2. And I don't think anything else is set this high. So just to make sure, we'll set this to 5 to make sure that everything that does get pulled out that we set on the request gets pulled out of here before it gets pulled out of anywhere else, including our storage drives. And I tell you what, priority systems are so fun. I don't know what it is about it. I love factory building games, and like anytime that there is the ability for you to define priorities, it's a game changer. I love it so much, as it really does make automation so much simpler. So now back over here, I'm going to set an exporter, and hopefully we can send from the bottom. I'm really hoping that that's the case. And I don't think we need any special upgrades. Yes, we can send from the bottom. Beautiful. And look at that. Without even adding any speed upgrades, this is going to be more than capable of keeping up. Now, this material over here is the living material. And this one, believe it or not, we are farming from our villagers. Yellow wool is perfect for this. So I'm going to drag the yellow wool, and any yellow wool that we get from in here is going to make its way into this and should start producing not only earth and a couple other things, but living primarily. Now the purple one, this one we're going to have to come back to. This is actually going to be quantum, and we are going to set totems of undying to be able to make the quantum. This is something that's not used super often and will most likely be used to simply just make more totems of undying or anything else that's in that range. There's actually not a lot. And if we go over here, we can see that underneath the quantum tag, there's really just not a lot over here that even generates quantum. Outside of doing totems of undying, automating Dragon's Breath wouldn't be really difficult for us to do, as you just need to click a bottle onto a dragon that is contained inside of a containment jar from Ars. That would allow us to generate Dragon's Breath indefinitely, but we'd also need glass to make sure we are keeping it in stock. So probably having like a witch or something inside of our farm would also work, but this totem of undying generates just significantly more. I think this is going to be well worth it. And you know what? I think it'll be kind of fun going back to the mansion and trying to capture one of the guys that potentially killed me. Now I'm thinking over here, we can put our external storage on this. I'm going to set this to extract only. As far as priority goes on this, I mean, we also want this to be first. We want this to be higher than our base disk drive. So I'll also set this to 1. And like I said, extract only because we do not want it to ever send items into here. So that is going to be kind of important because we are going to be pulling saplings out of this because next is actually going to be our earth matter. Now, actually, the saplings aren't going to be exactly for earth, even though they do produce earth. This was technically going to be my organic one. So organic, that is going to be the orange, and then the clay is actually going to be for earth. And clay we're also producing on our other farms, so that's going to be pretty straightforward. All of this, though, is going to produce it. It's just one of those things where I want both of them running just so we can constantly pull out anything that we need. This includes blocks, by the way. Most blocks, if we want to replicate them, we'll be using these materials. Now for the nether, this is also going to produce precious, but glowstone. Glowstone's a really good one to have in here and have constantly being crushed down. This is probably one of the better ones for the nether related products. And then yellow is defined as our precious, and we are producing an excess of gold. So this will allow us to process down the gold. And this is going to give us quite a bit because gold is surprisingly good for not only the metallic, but also precious. And then another thing that we are farming, which I also want our mob farm to technically farm, but this is being farmed from villagers, is ender pearls. We can send ender pearls into here, and this is going to farm up ender. And it technically also farms a little bit of quantum. Now, all of these items that we are currently using right here, once these tanks are full, we also have to keep in mind that these items are just simply being voided. So anything that I have in here, I need to understand that, well, we need it to be slow enough that it does produce a good amount of it, but we also want it to be slow enough that it doesn't burn through it faster than we're currently producing it. And I don't think any of these items we're really doing that to. Maybe wool, like maybe we will run out of yellow wool, but it's not a priority to have an infinite supply of that. And so on and so forth, right? So let's actually focus on now getting Totems of Undying, because I think that's going to be the best one for getting our quantum. And this is going to help our Drigme farm overall, because there's still several mobs that I really want to get into the actual planarium. This bad boy over here. And a few of those mobs are going to be like a witch, for example. We also want to maybe get each of the wilden mobs. That'd be really nice for ours. Coming back to this place, though, is giving me nightmares. Oh, man, the bad things that happened here last time. I just kind of want to look around through these windows and see if I can't just maybe find one that's just kind of lingering, and it might be a little easier if I just kind of like throw one of the creature catchers at it. Now, the map is showing me that there is an evoker like right here somewhere. There's the evoker. Okay. I'm going to throw the creature catcher at it. And hope that that's enough. Oh boy, these guys are after me and they are special. Okay. Whew. That was special. All right. And there's the catcher. If I make sure this is clear enough, I might be able to pop down there without dying. Oh my goodness. I am still kind of in a bad spot. Okay. I got the creature catcher. And it has the evoker in it, and it is a special evoker, so that's going to be kind of horrifying. But I do have it, and this should drop what we need. Oh man, there's still remnants of my prior adventure here. Oh man, pretty happy with getting that one, but I do want to also summon in some of the wilden mobs, and to do this, you just use the same thing that you would use to summon the boss, but you just use it to summon in the wilden mobs. And the goal is to get one of each. Oh wow, we actually did get one of each. That was pretty nice. And then the rest we can just simply take on here. There we go. So this should make things a little bit easier. I'll go ahead and put all of these, get all of the individual wilden mobs. There we go. They look rather happy, right? Yeah, they're happy. But now the last guy I am very worried about. I do want to get a couple of jars because I know one of the jars is going to eat the creature catcher. Oh boy. Whew. Okay, so we did capture it. And that's all that matters. Thank goodness. Now, back in the planarium, I'm going to go ahead and place in some more of these. I think, yeah, I went like 1, 2, 3, kind of went over and placed them in wherever the corner was at. There we go. Now, this is only going to make our little moosemen incredibly happy. So definitely having all of the wilden mobs in here, that is going to be very nice. And then we have this beautiful fella right here. And this totem should be farmable off of. I really hope so. If not, we're going to have to come up with some other plan. And never mind, that didn't take very long at all. There are already 4. I didn't even see a beam fly off of here. It's just already happened. And so I do want to send all of these drops into the overworld. So this, and also this should be able to be sent. I feel like I'm missing something else. Yes, Wilden Wing. There we go. All of those items now going into the ender chest. And now with these new items, yeah, they get a limited barrel each, one for each other. Then we need to make sure to slap on some void upgrades, even though the Totems of Undying I don't think we're gonna have to worry about, because remember, that's what we wanted. And now we get to use this to generate that quantum matter. And finally, Totems of Undying being disintegrated. That is wild to me, but it is exactly what we need. With that all done, time to dress this back up, get this looking really nice, and kind of facade a few of these things. And yes, I'm even going as far as using chutes just like I did before. Yes, we're going to have chutes down at the bottom. And then as far as the back goes, we'll utilize the industrial iron. And then on the front, I'm going to cover the exporter here by placing that not there, actually. Make sure that gets placed in. Can I hold shift? There we go. Hold shift to place it in. That is so clean looking. You're getting all of this cleaned up. Look at this. So I had to change a few things because yes, we did run out of glowstone. I actually think nether quartz might actually be a better alternative to using glowstone here. Simply because we are infinitely producing nether quartz at a rate that is way higher than we are currently producing glowstone. Now, another thing I did run out of is, well, yellow wool. Technically, which this one I'm not as concerned about, but ender pearls. And there's not really that great of a farm for the ender outside, believe it or not, of other than chorus fruit. Like, I'm unsure why, but yeah, chorus fruit actually produces quite a bit of ender. I think though I do have a solution for this. I could potentially catch like a witch, and we can use the excess glowstone that we get from that to hopefully help with our ender situation over here, which I don't think is that big of a deal. But we can also catch endermen and utilize endermen, which should farm ender pearls with our Drigme farm also. And you know what? Why not throw in like a yellow sheep? Because a yellow sheep should also form yellow wool in that farm. That should work. So you know what? There's the yellow sheep. I mean, that's a quick enderman. Now, I did wind up catching a few other mobs that we can also use to make this a lot better, but a witch, I really had a hard time. I had a hard time getting one. One didn't spawn the entire night, and I scoured the entire lands for it. So I have a better idea. How about I take advantage of a vanilla mechanic by transforming a villager into a witch? To do this, we can use the tablet of cloud shaping. Yes, this is going to be very interesting, and we'll use that over here, activate this, and then use a lapis block. And by using a lapis block on this, we can tell it to create a thunderstorm. Like, no joke. By doing this, we're going to start a thunderstorm, and I can use a lightning rod, placing it nearby, and just be ready once this does happen to be able to capture this bad boy. The ritual succeeded. Look at that. A thunderstorm has started. Oh, and I'm so ready. I'm so ready for the lightning to start. Oh, and lightning is starting to happen. I noticed the rod, by the way, does have like a special look to it. Oh, like it's building up static. That's such a cool look. Like every now and then you can see it like sparking. Oh, come on. You're not ready for this. And after this brisk storm, we now have it. And now that I've got the thunderstorm out of the way, we can use a tablet of sunrise to cause the storm to go away. Or at least I thought it would. Goodness, the lightning is still striking over here. Actually, we do need another one of cloud shaping, I believe. And a non-augmented version, this one just clears the weather. And so with all of these new mobs, I mean, we are making these Drigmes incredibly excited for all of this. After all of those shenanigans, let's say that we want to keep so many ender pearls in stock, so that way we can have them for crafting. Well, to be able to do that, we are going to have to utilize something called a detector from refined storage. And this is sort of going to allow us to do that. And so I believe we can put a detector in the back here and then connect it up to our refined cable. So let's just grab a cable here, connect this up to the bottom, and then we can place in an item. For example, this is our ender pearl one. So we can define an ender pearl, and we can say and set certain conditions. And so by default, it looks like it's set to equal to, but then we have greater than. And I believe this is going to emit a signal when it is greater than a certain value. So if I, for example, set this to 10, there's currently not 10 inside of the system, so it's not going to send a redstone signal. But if you change this to less than, notice it sends a redstone signal. And so I like the idea of greater than. We can set this to like, hey, if there's greater than 256 ender pearls, emit a redstone signal. That's pretty important to know that it's going to emit a redstone signal at that point, because over here we can go in and set this to redstone controlled. Then this should only work when it receives a redstone signal. And I love that tooltips were added. We can actually see this. If we hold shift, this device will only be activated with a redstone signal, which is pretty cool. And then you have low. This device will only be activated without a redstone signal, just in case you didn't know what high or low meant. And so now with this set up, we should have ender pearls start to build back up between our different farms. Now I've done the same thing over here. Keep 16 totems of undying in stock. If greater than 16, then send a redstone signal. And then over here, only work when receiving a redstone signal. And just to sort of prove that this is functioning, notice that we have 5 ender pearls in here. And if this was automatically sending all of those, we wouldn't have any building up. And so there you go, man. I've went over a lot of stuff today, conditionals, all kinds of different stuff. But most of these materials we are producing an excessive amount of. So being able to just send them here is it's producing way faster than this is consuming them. But even with all of this, we are not done yet because I want to tap the replication into our refined storage system. And this is where things get a little bit interesting. So I do have my refined storage cable over here, and I've also made a couple of extra printers. So we now have like 6 of the replicators over here. This leads us to one of the final quests in our basic progression quest line, and that is Replication RS Bridge. Once we place this item down, it is going to essentially build patterns for us automatically, which is going to be kind of cool. We need it to be connected to our refined storage and also connected to the matter network, just like so. And by doing this, anything that we have learned that is inside of this, basically diamonds, I have cobwebs, netherite scrap, netherite ingots, and nether stars, these should all now be requestable. But there's something else that we also have to worry about. Opening this, we want to make sure the priority here is higher than other things, because we would want it to pull from here before it pulls from any of our other storages when we form a request. As of right now, I'll just set it to a high priority of 1 over all of our crafters, which should be set to 0 by default. And now we can see all of the matter values inside of our terminal. This is pretty cool. And so what should be able to happen is I should be able to like request netherite scrap, because it should show up inside of our system here. Aha, interesting. So this does have to be directly connected to a cable. I had it originally on top of the identification table, and like the terminal did recognize it while it was up here, but the bridge did not. So I've moved my chip storage down over here, and this should work out a little bit better. I'm also going to clean this up. I'll take my identifier and we'll place this here. Perfect. So now everything shows up. There's our netherite scrap to request. And when we request it, it is going to pull a certain value. So if I wanted to pull out 10 of those, it's doing that craft. And it should show up inside of our system, I believe. But we should be able to basically see it crafting. Yes, in which it is currently doing so. Perfect. But with like some weird issues, this is something that is unfortunately in the works. This replication bridge is kind of in the works and currently being worked on still. But yes, the replicator here, for some reason, did leave netherite scrap inside of this, or at least it says it's still crafting it. I don't really know why it left it here. To speed this up, I do want to try out the replicator motor. I really want to see what this is like and how expensive are these replication motors. Like, we should now have it learned. Okay, so they're not too bad. Let's just make 1. I just really want to see what this looks like. And there we go. So replication motor. And if I shift right click it, okay, that did get applied. Oh, okay. Current acceleration multiplier. This is current failure chance 100%, but it does say that we have a percentage. Oh, we can change this. Oh, interesting, but it gives us a failure chance. Ooh, I don't think I want to do that. I really don't like the idea of failure, because I believe that would really mess up our refined storage system if that was the case. But by default, if this actually accelerates and produces as fast as this says it is, that would be fantastic. Can I just have it automatically just produce and see? I put this to be made instantly. I don't think this is any faster than normal, to be fair. I really don't think so. Yeah, no, without modifying it, this seems to be the way we want it. And I think the best way, if we want to make this faster, is by having either more of them, for replication, just having more of the printers, or definitely putting in the enclosures, and the enclosures do speed this up quite a bit. I've gone ahead, I've placed in a couple more printers for right now, and I think the main thing that I really want to get learned and kind of store in these memory chips, one, all of the dye colors. I really think that is a really good thing to get kind of stored in here, and then we can just simply pull out any of the dyes as needed. Like, this is one of the really nice things. Sometimes just farming all of the dye colors, man, it can just it can be a lot. After getting them all scanned in, that looks glorious. Having the ability to just go, okay, you know what, I want some green or lime green, which can be kind of a pain to make. I'm gonna make about 20 of those, and we should see all of our printers initiate because this is doing more crafts than we actually have printers for. But it is going to wait its turn. And there we go. And I think that's the last batch, and 20 die completed. Now, I would love to hear from you guys. What do you think is the best thing to replicate utilizing the replication mod, especially in this pack or really any mod pack? Let me know, of course, down in the comments below. And guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. And with that being said, it's now time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that huge thanks is going out to Mad Frisian. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and just supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so much, you absolute boss. And guys, I hope you have enjoyed this thus far, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.